Our correspondent Jonathan Sacerdoti joining us from London. Jonathan, as he points to those same questions that are asked after every single attack of this kind, what could we have done different? What lessons were learned? So a year later, what has changed, especially in terms of security at those kinds of events?
It's a good question, Nurit, and in some ways there's not a lot of visible change, but in others the UK population has absorbed many changes which now seem unremarkable, but at the time were less common. Remember that wasn't the only attack, that 1 year ago Salman Abedi detonated that improvised explosive device in the Manchester arena, resulting in 23 deaths, including himself. But this was the deadliest terror attack on UK soil since 2005, but one of 5 mass casualty terrorist acts in 2017 alone. So to that end, there has been a lot of extra security put in place in all sorts of regular events, whether it's streets around busy areas at Christmas, whether it's shopping centres, concerts, bridges, to stop car rammings, stabbings, and of course suicide bombings like this one.
And Jonathan, as you point out, it was one of several attacks, but there were some elements of this that were somewhat different from some of the others. And what would impact, I'm curious, for example, that it was not in London, it was in another city, that the victims tended to be, on the whole, quite young because of the nature of the event. The specific impact that this bombing had on the public.
Yes, well, the impact of this bombing was particularly big, firstly because it was a bombing, a suicide bombing, the kind of which we were used to seeing perhaps in places like Israel decades or more ago. And now that had reached the UK, people said. As you said, a concert of Ariana Grande, which means that there were many children in the building, specifically aimed, it seemed, at children. The head of the UK security service, MI5, Andrew Parker, spoke just last week at a security conference in Berlin, where he said that 12 terrorist attacks have been thwarted in the United Kingdom in the last 12 months alone. But he also said that the victory over Islamist terrorists requires further international attention.
Jonathan, on those words, Islamist terrorists, it brings up the question of debate. Debate also seems to always follow those conversations about security. Is there still an ongoing debate about how to manage it, about what impact that might have on Islamophobia, for example, on immigration, on those policies?
Well, there's constant debate in the United Kingdom about Islamophobia, about Islamist terrorism, and about extremism in general. And often people complain that it gets caught up in political correctness, that in a way that holds back the government and the police from doing what some think they need to do. Others say that there's a very good structure in place, and you heard about those attacks that they say they've thwarted. But of course, Salman Abedi is no longer here. They are still looking for his brother, who's in Libya, has been arrested there, and have asked for his extradition. But 1 year on, even though it's suspected he may have helped Salman Abedi, he's still not been returned to the UK to help in that investigation, which has over 100 police still involved in it. So some would say that the UK is still not properly equipped for taking care of preventing these sorts of attacks and also investigating them thoroughly when they do happen.
All right, Jonathan Sacerdoti in London, another commemoration of another terror attack in Europe. Thanks very much for being with us.